This show brought to you by Circle of Seven Productions, www.cosproductions.com. Please be sure to subscribe and welcome to our circle.
Well, hello, everybody. It's Patricia W. Fisher with Readers Entertainment Radio, and it is National Mutt Day here on December 2nd. It's also my cousin's birthday, so big shout-out to my cousin Bobby. Happy birthday. But National Mutt Day is always one of my favorite days. Well, every day is my favorite day with my dogs, and I just absolutely love. I have wiener dog mixes, and one is very long but has longer legs, so she looks kind of like a wiener dog on stilts. And then I've got one that's like super long-legged and long-bodied. She looks like if she were a person, she'd be a supermodel. She's like freakishly long legs. So I hope everyone has a great day with their mutts. And, of course, post your pictures if you can, because we would love to see them. And another fun thing we're doing today is we're talking to Aven Ellis. She's an author who has super fun books. She's a best-selling USA author with her publishing career that began in 2013 with her debut release, Connectivity. She currently writes romantic comedies featuring royals, billionaires, aristocrats, and athletes. Her books are designed to make readers laugh out loud and fall in love with happily ever after endings, and good boy heroes are always there. She lives in the Dallas area with her family, and she loves shopping, fashion, and can spend hours playing with the fragrances at any department store. She can be found chatting it up on social media, eating specialty M&Ms, and crushing on the latest outfit of the Duchess of Cambridge is wearing. You can find her at Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, BookBub, and her website where you can sign up for her newsletter. And you can find her links to books in the write-up of the show, as well as all of her social links. Welcome to the show, Aven. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Patricia.
Yep. And it's Aven, right? A-V-E-N.
That's correct. That is absolutely correct.
Perfect. So tell me, did you always want to write a book, or was this something that you came into later, or how did you end up writing that first book?
I have always wanted to write. Even when I was a child, as soon as I understood what a story was, I was writing my own. And when I went to college, I actually majored in communications. I concentrated in print journalism at the time. But I always wanted to write fiction, but I was always told that wasn't a viable career option. So I started my career writing for community newspapers, and then I moved on to writing for a public relations agency. And then I ended up working in sports television, but I always started writing on the side, fiction novels. And then finally, I just decided to submit one to a small publisher, and I published. And then eventually I just moved on to becoming an independent author and publishing them on my own. So it's something I've always wanted to do, and now I'm able to make a living at it, which is the fantastic part.
Right. And it's a process. Anybody out there who's like, that sounds like it's not a hard journey. Well, believe me, it's a lot of time.
It's a long one.
It's a long journey. And the big thing I think that a lot of people who don't really understand the process are always have a really, really good editor, because even, indie books, it doesn't matter. The quality of the book has to be there. It has to be a good book no matter who published it.
Correct.
So spend your money on the editor, and a good editor for sure. So what sports did you cover with sports TV, with your sports TV career?
I actually worked where it was a regional sports network, and we had all the local teams in Dallas, like the Dallas Stars, Texas Rangers, Dallas Mavericks, and then it expanded out to like Oklahoma City Thunder, New Orleans Pelicans, San Antonio Spurs. So NBA, MLB, and NHL. And I worked I was a travel coordinator at one point for them. And then I moved into different roles and eventually assisted the executive producer. What's great is when I worked there, whenever I'd write a sports scene in a hockey book or something, I could go straight to the source, the guys who worked on the production crew, and say, does this work? Would this be, or what would be a good angle for this? And they were total, you think they'd be like, what are you doing? Why am I talking about romance books? They were so excited to help. And still to this day, if I need an idea for a baseball pitcher story, I have like a bunch of people I can call and say, hey, what do you think of this? Or what do you think of that? Or they'll tell me ideas. So that's been a really fun connection. And to able to have that support from the people I work with at the day job was really cool.
Absolutely. It's fun to see the excitement people have when you say this is my book or I've published or, what do you think? And that people really love, especially when you put them in the foreword. And I wanted to thank, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's me.
I find for the most part, people they've been like, I have, there was, for example, I wrote in one of my books, I had where the characters owned mini pigs as pets. Well, I own 2 cats, so I don't know anything about mini pigs. So I just started joining Facebook groups that had mini pigs, and I would explain, I'm an author, and I was wondering if I could join your group so I can learn about mini pigs and so I can write them accurately. And then I would approach the administrators once they let me in the group and say, hey, do you mind if I ask a question if anyone has stories about their mini pigs or things they want to share? Well, sure enough, people were so excited to share. I got the best stories from people in these groups that's going, oh, here's a time my pig this, or if you have more questions, please DM me, or I'd be happy to read your scene to make sure you got it right. And the enthusiasm they have always takes me by surprise, but that's the wonderful thing. I've met some really interesting people doing research that I never would have come across in my day-to-day life.
Well, I was a trauma nurse for a while, and one of the things I'm writing in a book I'm finishing now is there's a scene where this girl's in labor, and you would think that, oh, well, she's a trauma nurse. It's like, no, I did not do that. So I have good friends that I actually will call and say, please read this, because, like you could read in a book how a game would classically go or what, a series of events would be, but in real life, it may not even come close to that. So me reading, how labor would go doesn't make any sense.
Right. And don't you think, though, also you just get a different layer when you actually talk to someone about it as opposed to reading about it?
Oh, for sure. And they add that flavor of, obviously first person, seeing it, but there's ways people tell stories. It's like anyone can make chocolate chip cookies, but this person does something different. It makes it more rich or whatever. It's that kind of storytelling. Like, oh, let me tell you about this time, blah, blah, blah. And then that's a whole nother level of information. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Well, and the funny note that I always get is because I've been in mini pig groups and ferret groups, and now I'm in a peacock group. I think Facebook is so confused by what groups I'm in. They keep serving me now all these really bizarre animal groups, suggesting you might like this group. I thought, yeah, probably in about 2 years, I probably will be ready to like this group.
Right. Yeah. It's funny because we live outside of San Antonio, and we looked in our backyard one day, and my husband's like, there's a peacock on the back fence, and sure enough, it was like sitting on top of the wood fence, and we were just like, okay, sure. So, and they're loud.
Well,
they're really loud.
They're loud, and they also, they can, I never thought about this, but, if they can fly away from where they live and come back, but if they fly away, it's what you found was the traveler. And, it's that's the kind of stuff that, as a cat owner, I don't really think about. And there was one day, similarly, I was unloading groceries from the car, and I came back outside, and there's a roadrunner in my driveway, and I had never seen one so close. And I was just like, oh, my God, I've got to get a picture. It's a roadrunner. And, these are the little things that geek me out as a writer, because then I think, I can put a roadrunner in some book someday. And so I save the picture in my writing file. I may never write a roadrunner, but I am prepared if I have to write a roadrunner.
Right. And it's interesting because different regions, because some people will be like, a roadrunner, that's a real bird? Yeah, it is. And they're all over the Southwest and such. But it's like I have a cousin who lives in Colorado Springs, and, of course, in Colorado, a whole different issue is bears. Is one of the things.
Ooh,
and so she said they had gone out to dinner one night and came back, and about 2 a.m, they heard all this noise in their garage. And, she looked at her husband and said, did you close the garage door? And he says, I'm pretty sure I did. And he goes down there and he opens the door leading into the garage, and there's a bear. The garage door, they hadn't closed it, and there's a bear just cleaning out their freezer. And I said,
oh, my gosh.
I just shut the door and went back to bed.
Gosh, that is hilarious. I don't know what I probably would have slammed the door. I probably would have been not as cool as he was.
What are you going to do? It's like, well, he'll leave when he's full.
Wow, that is crazy. Okay, I'll take the roadrunner any day over the bear.
Yeah. Well, people don't realize peacocks kill snakes, too.
Oh, I didn't know that. See, these are the things I need to learn in the peacock group.
Yeah, guinea hens will kill snakes as well. So it's very interesting. Like pigs can get bitten by rattlesnakes, and usually, depending on the size of the pig, it doesn't really do much, and then they kill the snake, and they'll eat it. Actually, pigs eat pretty much everything. So, but yeah, it's very interesting what people will have. My parents lived outside of New Braunfels, and for anyone who's listening, New Braunfels is between San Antonio and Austin, and they had 2 geese, and they would just hang out in their front yard, and they never locked their doors. And they said no one ever bothered them, like tried to break in because of the geese.
Oh, wow. I can see that. Geese can be kind of mean.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they're awful. They're so mean. But yeah, nobody ever broke in. Everybody, no, none, 0. So
no, that's
all
crazy.
these little things. Isn't that funny?
It really is. Just little things you learn, and you never know. Sometimes they'll end up in a book. Sometimes they won't, but it's still a fascinating journey. Anytime I learn little things like that, I get so geeked out.
You always gather more information than you'll actually use. And I think, and I'm sure you do this too, as a writer, you're like, but I want to. I want to use all of this information somewhere.
It's like there's got to be a place I can put this in, and and it's sometimes that can get you into trouble if you're not careful.
That's true. It really can. So your very first book that you published or was published in 2013 was called Connectivity, and then you had a book, Connectivity 2.0, and then from the same series, so this is your British Isles Billionaires, your book that's coming out the 22nd is Making Spirits Bright. So tell me about this series and then your newest.
Okay. Connectivity was my first book that I ever had published, and I hadn't written for 6 years, and I had been writing prior to that, like just rough drafts, what I call under the bed books. Those were my learning books, and I wrote at least 6 to 7 of those, where it was just it's not fit to be published, but it was my learning process. And I met with some other writers here in Dallas, and we critiqued each other's work and all of that. And then I had a baby, and I was like, oh, Lord, I don't have time to write. And I know some people who do write with babies, and I am so impressed because my brain space couldn't compute. It just was like, no. And then one day I was watching, I think it was on BBC America. It was Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch as Sherlock.
Yes.
And they opened the scenes with London at night just looking so beautiful and so mysterious. And I'm like, this would be a great setting for a book. And all of a sudden, I just started getting ideas, and I started writing again. But this book just felt different from all my previous under the bed books. And, one of my critique partners, she is Alexa Aston. She's a best-selling Regency author. And she was like, this one's going to get published. And this was kind of at the time there was still indie stuff, but I didn't know enough about the industry at all to even pursue the indie option.
Right.
So I found this small publisher, and they accepted it, and I started with them. And then gradually, as I wrote more and more books, I got the confidence to do my own. And when I got Connectivity back from them, because I had signed a 6-year contract with the book, when I got the rights back, I thought, this one was always popular with people. I wonder if I wrote a sequel that takes place later where the hero and heroine would have a part of the story, but it would be like the next generation of billionaire characters heroes who fall in love. And that's when I wrote 2.0, and that did really, really well. And then I just got the idea to start making this a series of billionaire men, and there's going to be a woman down the line, who are based in the British Isles. And that's where the idea came from, and this is the 3rd installment, and this is with a Scottish hero who's heir to a whiskey fortune. So, so that's how the series kind of came about. It was never a planned series at all, and there was 6 years between book 1 and book 2. But it's like the series has done really well. It just kind of picked up where it left off, as crazy as that is. And like Connectivity is selling better than it ever did the first time it came out, which is really, if I can say anything to someone who's writing, don't ever think a book is a dead book. Because if I would have looked at the numbers with the small publisher, I never would have republished it. I would have just let it die. And I republished it, recovered it, reblurbed it, and it's had a whole new life.
I mean, that's fun though, because it's just one of those things where it's your first book that like you published, that's been published,
Right.
you've seen on Amazon or on the shelves or what have you. And it's one of those things that you're just like, man, I really want to say more in that book that I didn't say the first time. And it never gets old. In fact, Joanne Power is a friend of mine, and she posted this morning the cover of her very first book that was published. And she's been doing this for a long time and writing historical romances. And she's like, the comment was, this never gets old, seeing this. It's like, it's just, it's a huge amount of time and effort and energy to create. So absolutely, keep creating. So you've got two people that are going to, is this enemies to lovers? Is this, marriage of convenience? What are we talking about here?
This is a second chance. Where they had met in college in Ireland, and the heroine is from Dublin, and the hero is from Scotland. And they met in college, they broke up, and they reunite unexpectedly in London. And it is the story of a second chance, and how do you move past, how do you forgive yourself for the past to move forward for a future. And the story takes place in both Scotland and England. And it was a lot of fun to write. That was my first big second chance romance where there had been a breakup of a couple before and to find their new path together. So it was really fun for me to do because it was different.
I bet. So have you been to London?
No, never been.
So you basically brainstorm with people and say, hey, if I wanted someone to do this, where would they go? Where would they eat? What would they eat?
No,
where would they shop?
Actually, I do it completely different. I do a lot of research. I watch a lot of YouTube videos. I go to tourist website pages. And then I also cultivated from the first connectivity book I did 6 years ago, and this team is still with me to this day, a group of British beta readers. And so I write all those books in UK English. And so they correct the English language. My assistant is also one of my British proofreaders, and she's from Birmingham, England, and she's been with me, like they've all been with me the whole time. Even when I'm not doing British books, they're with me on each book. But it's great because they can correct, no, this isn't how we would say this in the UK, or this isn't a thing in the UK, this is an American thing. And they keep me honest on that. And sometimes I'll ask them ideas. I'll say, okay, you guys, if you had to do X, Y, or Z, what would you want to do? Or what's the better thing to do? Or is this a real touristy thing to do? Or is this something you would do? And so they keep me honest on all the London. And one of the girls is from Scotland on the team. And one of the girls, her partner is Irish. So I had everybody covered with this book. So that was that I could have everybody's input on it.
Yeah. And it's hard when you have someone that thinks they know what someone would say or how they would say it or where people would go, and the people who read it are like, no, it's not. Not correct. Yeah, and that's the real quick way to take someone out. I mean, that's in any genre. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's romance or sci-fi or mystery. If you, it's kind of like in Texas we call everything all soft drinks Cokes. I'll have Coke. Right. What kind? Well, Sprite. Don't ask why that started. I have no idea. But if you go up somewhere else, it's going to be called pop or soda or, so those regional dialects are important to know who you're talking to and all that. So, yeah, all that's important. So it's wonderful that you have that team behind you. And, so you've got, and anybody listening, she doesn't just have British Isle Billionaire series. She's got Modern Day Royal series, Modern Day Aristocrats, Rinkside in the Rockies, Washington Stories baseball series, a hockey series, another hockey series, and some standalone. I mean, look, she has books coming out. She has a bunch of books coming out, and she's got a new one the 23rd of December. So you have time to read some of her books before the one comes out the 22nd. You will not be sad because there are so many books there for you to read. So y'all need to fire up your credit cards because here we go.
And they're in Kindle Unlimited.
Well, there you are. Fabulous. I love it. So you've got this the first one was Connectivity, and then what was your next series? Because you've got, 6 different series?
Yeah, it's funny because when I first started, I admit I did not study the market. I had no idea what was popular in the market. I just wrote what I wanted to write. And so I did a couple other books, and they were all standalone. I didn't know it was better to have a series. I was so green. Oh, my gosh, I was so green. And then I got this idea because, working sports and, I was still working full-time in sports at that time. And I gotten tickets to go to a Stars game, and I thought, God, I love hockey. Wouldn't it be cool to write a hockey hero? I had no idea hockey romance was a thing. None. Zero. Zip.
Yeah.
So I just wrote this hockey book and told my publisher, because I was still at the small house, and I said, what do you think about hockey book? And they're like, oh, okay. And so I wrote a hockey book, and that one did better than any of the other books I'd written so far. And I'm like, And then I thought, I'll write another hockey book. This hockey guy can have a friend. So I wrote the friend on the team story, and that did well. Again, comparatively speaking, to my other books. And I was like, maybe I need to do a series. And that's when the penny started, as they say in the UK, the penny dropped, right? I was like, oh, people like series. And then at that point, I started reading more about publishing in the indie publishing, and I thought, maybe this is something I could do myself someday. And that's what started me thinking about moving ahead. That I honestly fell into the whole hockey series thing. I had no plans to write 3 hockey series. I didn't even plan to write one hockey series. It was just kind of a light bulb moment that, people seem to like this, and they seem to like to read, and people are asking, are you going to do any more hockey books? And so I did a bunch of hockey books, and then I decided I wanted to have, at that point I knew my connectivity and those standalone books that weren't interconnected with the hockey world weren't selling. And so I decided I was going to focus purely on hockey, but then I just creatively, I didn't say that right, my creative heart needed more. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to try baseball. So I wrote baseball, and it still wasn't full yet. And I knew at that point I was starting to feel like I was going to move on from hockey, just because I'd written so many of them. And that's when I thought, I had a hockey author friend said, you are so into the royal family. Why don't you write a royal series? And for me, oh, no. And I said, no, people won't read that from me. I'm not going to do that. But then, have you ever had when a seed was planted and then all of a sudden it doesn't go away even though you're telling it to go away?
Oh, for sure.
I couldn't stop thinking about royals. And I decided to write that, and that's the book that changed my career.
Okay.
That's where it exploded. That's where people just went crazy over it, and that's the series that allowed me to become a full-time author.
So a royal shade of blue was the first one. Yeah. So who does your covers?
Well, my covers were initially, they were done by another author who does not want to be named.
Okay.
She does covers for fun. And then I switched, now Amy Duarte does my covers, and she is a former Disney artist. And she has some beautiful work on Etsy, and she does freelance projects for Netflix and films. But she took me on to do the book covers, and that's who does them now.
Oh, they're just beautiful.
Oh, thank you. She does a brilliant job. She and I, we have this really great chemistry together, and we've become friends outside of the covers. Like, we'll text each other different things and stuff. And it's like, even I'll give her a description of the characters, and even before I give her a lot of details, she will know, like, what's in my head, and she'll send me a sketch. And, like, for Making Spirits Bright, this is really funny. I didn't tell her that in my head the character was wearing a red one-sleeve blouse with white trousers for Christmas. And she sent me the rough draft, and she had the heroine in a one-sleeve blouse. And I'm like, that's so weird, because that's not even super common right now. And then so I texted her back, and I said, I don't want her in a skirt. Here's my inspiration picture. And she was like, okay, that's weird. That is so weird, because I haven't thought about doing one sleeve in forever for anything I've drawn. So we have a really good chemistry together, and I think it shows in the covers.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they're just, it's fun and flirty, and I love that you have the different buildings in the back, because you're like, oh yeah, I recognize that. And even for your Dallas series, you've got, I forget what it is. It the big tower with the
reunion tower
on the top? Yeah. That's kind of classic. And then of course you've got your baseball series that's set in DC, and you've got monuments in the back. I mean, there's just, it's fun because it shows. It's like, oh, okay, I know where she is, like, already. So it's a great cover, because it basically is telling you exactly what kind of story you're going to read, which is really the point of the cover, right?
Yeah, it's so important. It's so important. And that's something I've learned too, because, you again, I didn't study any of this. I just wrote because I like to write, and on a whim, I submitted something to a publishing house. Now I know so much more. So I actually I think about things I never would have thought about the first go around. Like, okay, how is this going to look? This cover looks great, but does it show up on a thumbnail? How does it look on a thumbnail?
Right.
And it's with Amy, we've actually tweaked the Lord of the Manor cover because it looked great, and I put it up on Amazon, and I showed it to her. She says, oh, I didn't think about thumbnail. I should fix that color. I should fix the color font. I'm going to make it different. So her graphic artist eye immediately knew how to fix it. And she went back and we retweaked the color, and it made all the difference in the world. But it's like I have to, because she's coming from the world of film, and she's coming from the world where she does art prints that are like, she does a lot of the royals. That's how I found her. She has beautiful prints of Kate Middleton that she sells in her shop. And so I've got her now. We talk about, does it show on a thumbnail? How does this look small? You know, things like that. That I didn't know when I first started. I didn't think what looks good on a thumbnail. I mean, I was, again, I'll admit it, so green. Right. You know,
but learning as you go. But the big thing about that, though, is it wasn't as though you felt like, well, I've got a journalism degree and I know this, so I don't need to know anything else. I know what I'm doing. You were still saying, you know what, I don't know, and now I know a little, but I don't know. I mean, it's just like, keep feeding me knowledge. And that's huge when it comes to entering a new career or doing something like this. You kind of have to put that ego on the table and say, okay, I'm going to put that over there, and I'm going to just absorb what's going on.
Yeah, and I mean, I listen to podcasts every week about authors, about book marketing, and then I listen to ones about regular marketing because I think they may have some tips that just, you know, that can apply across everything that would translate maybe to selling books. So I'm always trying to learn new things because you just never stop. And either whether it's a craft podcast, I'll listen to those. You have to keep learning. And that's the one thing in this business I would tell anyone who is going in. If you think just because you got a great manuscript that works, that's just the beginning. That is merely the beginning of what you need to do.
Yeah, that's just the start. And, you know, the days of handing your manuscript over and then going to the next one and not having to be involved with anything else is gone. That's just like gone.
So gone.
And in a way, it's kind of nice because especially when you do indie, you can have so much creative license over your covers and everything. And then there's also advantages with a publisher because a lot of the cost of the initial marketing. So, I mean, you have to find your balance, and that's what the whole process is.
Well, and I think the key is for someone, if they're starting out, figure out what's best for you. Don't be swept away by what everyone's doing or what, you know, what advice. You can read lots of advice, but you have to say at the end of the day, can I afford to do this the way I want to do it? Or how do I want to do it? Do I want to have to, you know, I think even if you go with a publishing house, you're still going to have to market because they really don't do a lot of marketing for you. And but there are some things they will pick up for you, and you don't have to worry about paying for an editor. You don't have to worry about scheduling an editor. You don't have to worry about finding proofreaders. You don't have to worry about hiring out your cover artist in time. All that responsibility is lifted. So I think it's just deciding what is best for you as an individual. And you know, I can say right now, for me, going independent was the best decision I ever made.
Right. And anybody out there that's thinking about going independent, and I'm sure you've heard this before too, Aven, is do not pay someone to print your book. That is like a huge red flag.
No.
Don't do that.
Yes.
Not okay. So true publishers take the risk of publishing your book if they believe enough in it. Do not pay somebody to publish your book because a lot of times those are vanity presses and you might lose your rights. I mean, you might literally sign your rights away. So, yeah, not okay.
And that thought is it's not okay. It's you know, and it's so easy to fall into these things because, you know, they look for people who are new. That's who they want to target because they're easy to prey upon.
Or really want to get published. Right.
Yes. There's, you know, and even if it's something, if you're saying, I can't afford all this right now, then you know what, you put your book aside and you work towards that goal. You set that budget. Here's what I'm going to need to do this. And you set that budget before going to a vanity press. That's what I would advise.
Right. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, there are ways to do this. To even if you feel like, you know, ideally I would want this wonderful cover. Well, maybe just a simpler cover is better. Like you go stock photo and you know, Deposit Photos has free pictures every week, and you find something that works for now, and then maybe you make some money off the book and you can do a new cover. You know, it's like you can build into it. So it's just it's okay. So it doesn't have to be like ultra, penthouse New York type at the beginning. Sometimes you live in a tiny little apartment, and that's okay.
Yes,
it gets you where you need to be.
100%.
So you've got all of these different series. What is next? I mean, what's the next book that's coming out for you after Making Spirits Bright?
I do something, again, that this is going to sound repetitive, but it's not suggested or recommended. And I do it because this is how I write. I series jump. And that's another thing. If you wanted to make more money, you would write out a series and move on to the next series. My brain doesn't work that way. It has to have a different scene, different people, different language to work. So I am going back to Modern Aristocrats, and I'm writing the first full-length book in that series, Lord of the Manor, and that will be my next one. But before I start that one, I've already started my next one, so I'm actually talking out of order. I'm working on baseball right now, so I take that back. Baseball will be the next release, and then Lord of the Manor. So I'm going from
and that will be the
Scottish,
Washington Soaring Eagles?
DC. Yes, that'll be the Soaring Eagles. So I'm going from the Billionaires to the Soaring Eagles, and then I'll be going to the Aristocrats for 2022.
Okay.
I know, it's weird.
No, I mean, I have a lot of friends who, I've got deadline on this one here, and then I've got to go to this one, and then, it's just this constant rotating thing. The trick, I think, a lot of times that I've seen, and I do as well, is you're working on something, you've got something due, and then a new idea happens, and you're like, no, I don't need a new idea.
Right? It's like I'll go, I have this idea for another series. I don't have time for another series. It's like I have to tell myself, no, finish a series first, then you're allowed to start a new series.
Right. But it's you're never finished, right? I mean, it's just the writing just continues forever. Yeah. And I always liken it to, I don't know if you are old enough to remember, but, Carol Burnett used to be on, and she had this skit where Harvey Korman is sitting there typing, and he's a writer, and they're acting out what he's typing. And, of course, he's like, no, that's not good, and erases, and, they have to, back up and redo, and it's this really classic thing. So that's what I think of when I'm writing, no, you can't come into this scene because, you can feel yourself, physically pushing away this idea, just stay back there.
Yes, I don't have time for you. You cannot speak right now.
Right. Sit in the corner. I'll get to you later. It's just always insane. So tell me, are you guys just going to lay low for the holidays? Are you are you going to travel at all? What are your plans?
Yeah, we're just going to stay here. So I'll probably still do a lot of writing and not really travel anywhere. We did a few years ago. We traveled to visit some of my husband's family in San Diego at Christmas.
Oh wow!
And travel. It was beautiful. It was really beautiful, and the weather was great. But traveling over Christmas isn't always fun. So
that's true.
I don't think we'll do that one again. I think we'll visit maybe in the spring or summer. But no, it'll just be us this year, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, we had a really low key Thanksgiving this year, and it was so nice. Yes, because we had one person come over, a friend, and then that was it. And we just basically all cooked together, and it was super fast and easy, and everybody helped clean up, and we sat around and watched TV and played poker, and then ate some more, and it was great. It was just this very low key thing.
That actually sounds perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds really perfect. And you don't have this gigantuan mess to clean up after feeding a whole bunch of people. I think that's a winner in my book.
Yeah. And, the travel, don't get me wrong, we miss seeing family, but sometimes you just want to be able to truly relax when it's a holiday like that. And I think when everybody's running around and going to each other's houses, it's harder because you've got to be ready and make sure that, the bathroom's clean and, the kids have actually had a shower. And we did get everything we needed. And so it's and the dog's not barking the whole time when everyone's there. So it's just kind of nice to have the downtime. So I really like it. I may even suggest that we do that every year. And just travel in the nicer parts of the year. It's
we'll catch up with you guys. We'll have a family reunion, maybe April.
Right. It's nice. Everyone can just be outside. Of course, it gets cool in Texas in March. So So yeah, we can definitely have outside stuff at that point. I mean, today is perfect. It's like 70 something here in San Antonio.
Yeah, it's nice up here too. I always take a walk in the early evening, so I'll go take my walk and it'll be beautiful outside. I'm excited.
Yeah. So how were you guys affected by the freeze in February? Were you out of power for a while?
I feel so bad saying this. We had everything. I know, but you feel so bad because everyone I know was struggling, and we had full electricity and full water. I don't know what happened. But like everybody else I knew had something or both things go wrong. And I have a very good friend of mine has a condo in Dallas, and she's still having repairs done on it. She still doesn't have a cooktop.
Wow.
Because there were so many people affected. It took forever to get service people in to be able, contractors in to repair it. And I feel so incredibly blessed, and it was just dumb luck. But we kept looking at each other because also my husband and I are terrible repair people. We can't fix anything. So if that would have happened, it would have been DEFCON 5 over here. And we kept looking at each other waiting for the lights to suddenly go.
Yeah.
And so we were incredibly lucky. How about you? Did you guys
so we were out of power for a couple of days. We never lost, so it got down to like 40 in our house, which was delightful. And so then you start, of course, worrying about the pipes and start throwing blankets over everything. And then we always had water. And it was amazing because, every time, the thing I think that bugged me the most, it wasn't that we didn't have power. I mean, obviously that did, but it would flicker on. And then before you could run into the next room and start a coffee thing or something, it would be out again. And so you'd have these flickers of 46 seconds. I mean, literally people were timing it in our neighborhood and sending it to each other, 46 seconds. And that made people more mad versus just leaving it off,
Right.
Because it's no. So.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And then, so that happened all day, one day, and then it got to the point I'm not even going to get up until, it's on for at least 5 minutes. And not getting out from under these covers. And then we were out for about 2 days, and then it came on, and then we were okay, turn off everything that's not necessary. We're going to heat up some stuff.
Right.
We're going to get, everyone quickly take showers, or at least hose down, and then, everybody back in the room. And it stayed on for 6 hours, and then went off again for 8. And then, but it was enough to warm up the house. And then up to 70, which was fine. And then it went out again, and then it came back on and stayed on. So, but I mean, people in my neighborhood, their pipes froze. There's water coming out. I'm just just the water one is what concerned me more because, you don't, water damage is just, I lived in Houston, so hurricanes, so it's no, not water damage. So this year we had just gotten our solar panels last November. And I'm thinking, we'll be fine because, we have solar panels. Well, the way it's set up in Texas, you have solar panels, but if the grid is down, there's no signal being sent. So you can't run them. So you have no power.
Isn't that the craziest thing? I didn't know that until this thing.
Yeah.
And that was one of the stories that they came out with. I'm like, well, then what's the point of that?
Because the people who don't want you to have solar panels are in charge of it. So I'm this looks a little this doesn't work. So we actually got a battery hooked up. So now this year, I've told our neighbors and my parents, my brothers, I'm okay, so if we know this is coming, everyone's coming over, and everyone's we're gonna have rooms for each family, and just bring your sleeping bags, and we'll all just stay here because we'll have power. At least it'll stay warm, and the pipes will freeze. So yeah.
I mean,
so
that
we have
was
a plan
one of the
this year.
craziest. Yeah, that was one of the craziest experiences. And like I said, to see so many people around me have so much damage done so quickly, and then you never think about how long it's going to take to get everything fixed. I had no idea, and especially, they just couldn't. Everybody needed a contractor, so it was really hard to get a contractor, and just getting so many things that have to be repaired when you have water damage, drywall, flooring, pipes. I mean, it's not an easy fix.
And
so
not
I
only that,
really
you have to go back and pick, are you going to use the same paint? Are you going to use the same floor? Oh, wait, they don't make that tile anymore. Now you have to pick a different, or, laminate or whatever.
Right, there's so many decisions that you're
yeah.
Right, and there's so many decisions that have to be made when you are not in the headspace to make a decision. If you're going through all that and you just want to get your life back on track to normal, I would be like, no, I need to think about how I'm going to market this book. I don't care what paint you paint the walls. It's just please don't make me think about it, but you have to.
Right. Well, and it's interesting is a lot of people were talking about, well, I'm just going to have poured concrete floors after this, and I'm like, it seems legit. I mean, it would work, so you would never have to worry about that. But yeah, and just do throw rugs. So I mean, it's interesting after every big weather disaster. It's very interesting to see how people will change their homes. It's like, okay, well, don't want to do that again. So it's an interesting process. But yeah, it's just a different way of thinking and how to plan.
Well, and I've also planned in my head, okay, like right about now, I'm going to go out and start looking because the stores have an abundance of them, gloves, hats, new scarves, anything we need, because there's so many years we never use that stuff. There'd be years that would go by before you'd see a snowflake. So I admit it, I necessarily did not buy gloves every year because I didn't think I would need them. And you would think I'd have old ones somewhere, but it's like with mittens, I always seem to lose one. It's like the socks that go in the wash.
Yeah.
And you come out with one.
I have
one random
I know
mitten.
gnomes stealing.
Well, the gnomes have definitely taken a collection of mittens and gloves from this house because it's like we all have one. And it's
right.
This is the dumbest thing ever. It's like, what pocket did I leave this in? Where did I drop this? That has to be somewhere in this house, and I've just given up trying to find it. I've just given up.
But what's fun is when you do go into that old jacket and you're like, hey, what's this? Check it out, a glove and a $5 bill. Score.
That happy days when that happens. It's like if you find a $5, man, that's a great day.
It is a great day. Even $1, I'm like, check it out.
Look at me. I had $1 here all this time.
Awesome. So now everybody listening, go load up your Kindle or whatever you want to read. So if the power does go out, and you have a backup battery, you can actually read through the whole, your house dropping temperatures. But you'll be warm and fuzzy inside because you'll have all of Aven's books. So there you go.
Thank you.
So we have about 3 minutes left. I wanted to ask you, what was your favorite professional sports person experience? Like, who did you meet that was just really solid, good person?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would say one of the nicest people I ever worked with is a former NFL player named Brian Baldinger. And whenever I would book his travel, he was so incredibly nice. And also, let's see, who else? Gary Reasons, he's a former New York Giant. He played on their Super Bowl teams back in the day. These are all people who work as talent now. And he was incredibly nice too. So I've been really lucky that most of the guys I've worked with, they're very nice and down to earth, and that's always a pleasant surprise because you have this image going in, okay, they're going to be very difficult, and they really weren't. They were awesome. They understood, okay, can't have this flight. Can I go here? Or, can you get me here or here? No, you may have to fly here. And I had the challenge of getting them from a Saturday college football game to an NFL gig the next day. And sometimes going from Manhattan, Kansas to a major NFL city within so many hours before kickoff was not easy, but they worked with me and they were cool with, sometimes I do random stuff like, okay, you got to fly after this game. You've got to drive to Kansas. You got to drive to Kansas City, take this flight. We're going to get you to O'Hare. And the next morning you're going to wake up and you're going to take a 5:30 a.m. flight and get you to New York. And they're like, okay, cool. So those are two that come to mind.
Yeah,
that were really
good.
Yeah,
it's a crazy schedule. I mean, it's nothing that's like, oh yeah, I'll show up at 8 and leave at 6 or 5 or whatever. It's like it's not how it works at all. So as glamorous as it looks, there's a lot of chaos going on in the background, and there's no set schedule. So, but
exactly right.
Yeah, but it can be very cool in the same time. So I thank you so much for talking to us today, Aven.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a real pleasure.
Absolutely. So everybody who is looking for fabulous books to read or to give this holiday, Aven is at her website, which is Aven Ellis, so Aven Ellis, ELLIS. .com. She is also on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and BookBub, and I have all those links in the write-up of the show. And you can find her links to her books as well in the write-up of the show. And her book, Making Spirits Bright, comes out December 22nd, and you can pre-order now. So please come back and talk to us again when you've got more stuff to tell us about.
I absolutely would love to. Thank you, Patricia.
Absolutely. And everybody stay safe and keep on reading.
This show brought to you by Circle of Seven Productions, www.cosproductions.com. Please be sure to subscribe and welcome to our circle.